Good morning to fans of the Los Angeles Lakers and only fans of the Los Angeles Lakers. Welcome to the Lakers Central Podcast. I'm your host, Alex. Please follow me across all social media at Lakers Central 365 and make sure you tell all your friends about the podcast and please subscribe. So, the trade season is upon us. The Lakers are smack dab in rumors, and that should come to no surprise because the Lakers are often smack dab in the middle of rumors. So, first thing I'm going to do is just talk about our game against Detroit. The Lakers had 20 blocks. They led from start to finish. LeBron James and Anthony Davis had to play the whole game, but there was really no question that they would win or not. But Derrick Rose, a guy that has been mentioned as potentially someone that could be moved, he auditioned. He sure enough auditioned. Rose had 28 points. He was 10 for 10 from the free throw line, 2 for 3 from three-point land, 8 for 19 overall, 5 assists. Dude was great. He was great off the bench for Detroit in 29 minutes. And you look at the Lakers' backup point guard, Rajon Rondo, and in 20 minutes, he was 1 for 4 from the field, 0 for 1 from three-point land, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 points. And yeah, now you know why so many Laker fans want the Lakers to upgrade. Now, Darren Collison is still out there as a free agent. It's been reported by Woj that he may come back. And if he does, the Lakers and Clippers are at the top of his list. But I focused on that on Monday's podcast. You can go listen to that if you want to hear more. And we talked about Rose in that podcast. I'd be remiss if I did mention that. But just coming off of this game, Rose showed out, and he showed why he will likely be a great addition to any playoff contender should Detroit actually trade him. We already heard that Detroit was thinking about trading Andre Drummond to Atlanta, and there are some other teams that want to get involved in that. But then on my way home from work, I was listening to NBA radio, and they mentioned that Blake Griffin is going to go see a specialist and may very well have season-ending knee surgery. So at this point, if they're really thinking about trading Drummond and Blake may miss the rest of the season, they might as well blow it up and get back whatever assets they can. So Rose is a competent guy. He was amazing, and he's someone that could really help this Lakers team. Now, Rajon Rondo, on the other hand, the guy that we have, he just has not been good this year. George Sedano was hosting The Jump today, and he put up this stat about Rajon Rondo, so his on and off numbers. When he's on the court with LeBron, somehow, some way, he's a plus 8.8. When Rondo is running the show and LeBron is off the court, he's a negative 7.3 or minus 7.3 in net efficiency. And look, that's the reason, one of the primary reasons that the Lakers bench has a hard time holding on to the double-digit leads that the starters build up. Rondo just isn't very good, and the Lakers' offensive efficiency goes down when LeBron's off, as it normally would, but then their defensive efficiency just really tanks when LeBron's off the court and Rondo's running everything. He really, at this point in his career, there's nothing that he brings that's quality on offense or defense. It just is what it is. That tends to happen to athletes. Now, kind of beyond that, the Lakers do need to figure out a way to strengthen their bench. And today, Mark Stein dropped a bombshell because it sent Lakers Twitter in a frenzy. Mark Stein tweeted that the Sacramento Kings, are one of the teams that's tried to engage the Lakers in a Kyle Kuzma trade. And the Kings know that they would have to include sharpshooter, soon-to-be restricted free agent Bogdan Bogdanovic, for starters, in a Kuzma trade. So before this came out, the other day, Sam Amick of The Athletic reported that teams were starting to call the Lakers, and the Lakers were listening. Now we're hearing that Sacramento is one of those teams, and who knows where this goes from here. I view Kuzma as a guy that could potentially be the third option on this Lakers team. He's battled injuries since the summertime. That's played a role in maybe he not being as good as he's been in past seasons. But then also, his role has greatly changed, as it would when you have Anthony Davis and LeBron James on your team. And so, last year Kuzma averaged 18.7 points, and he was playing roughly 33 minutes a night. Well, this season, 11 points, and he's playing 23 minutes a night. And last year he started 68 games. This year he's only started 1 out of 27 that he's played in. I mean, look, Kuzma, I still think has a lot of potential. He's 24 years old. I know a lot of people think at that age guys don't have any potential, but no, I think that he does. But I think he's having a hard time finding his footing. And on this particular team, a number of people have pointed out that his 3-point shooting from the corners has been lights out. He's shooting, I believe, plus 50% from either corner, but he's not shooting very well in some other spots. He's shooting 34% overall from 3, which is better than last season, which he shot 30%. But I'm I don't know where Kuz goes from here. And let me be really clear, all I care about is winning. I care about the Lakers getting better and the Lakers winning a championship. And if that is with Kyle Kuzma, great. If that means they need to move him to bring a piece or the pieces in that helps them win a championship, then so be it. I am all about this team winning a championship. And Kuzma is their most attractive asset, outside of LeBron and Anthony Davis. He's their most attractive asset. And so when you consider the Sacramento Kings, Bogdanovich is up for an extension this season. They paid Buddy Hield this past year. De'Aaron Fox's extension will be coming up. They paid Harrison Barnes. I have no idea if the Kings ownership wants to pay $10-15 million per year for Bogdanovich. Who knows? But I'll tell you what, Bogdanovich has torched the Lakers when he plays us. And it always feels like these players, some player on some team is torching us or whatever that we don't expect. But Bogdanovich has really done that. And I don't know as much about him because I don't watch Kings games. I only watch when when we play the Kings. But I know the dude can shoot. And what I was most surprised with as I started looking at some highlights of him and talking to some other people, I had no idea that he had playmaking ability. I had no idea that he could run a competent pick and roll, that he could pass. And again, he's a hell of a shooter. When dude gets hot, he's blazing hot from 3-point land. So I like what I see with him. The question really becomes is, one, would the Kings trade him? And there's a lot of people that think Kuzma's better. There are people that think that Bogdan is better. The one thing that I saw on social media today is that there were so many non-Laker fans hoping that the Kings would not trade Bogdan to the Lakers. And that told me that dude must be pretty good. He's 27 years old. He's a few years older than Kuzma. Like I said, Bogdan is up for an extension as well. He makes $8.5 million this year. And there are some people that feel like, well, if the Lakers trade for him, are they just going to let him go? If they sign him to an extension, that could impact their 2021 plans to go after Giannis. And so let me be clear again. If they were to make a trade for Bogdanovich, I think that if they extended him, they should have no problem moving him if Giannis in 2021 says, I want to come there, and they don't have the space, so they need to move Bogdanovich. If they sign him to a solid extension, he's a guy that could be moved, and they could probably get back some pieces and maybe help replenish that empty draft chest that we now have as a result of the Anthony Davis trade. So I like Bogdanovich. So what I'm going to do is get into the finances after the break, and then I'll let you know where I stand ultimately on if they should pull the trigger or not. You'll be right back with Laker Central.
Hey guys, this is Ryan Schlip, host of the Packernet Podcast, and I wanted to tell you about Mack Weldon. The most comfortable underwear, socks, shirts, undershirts, hoodies, and sweatpants, and more that you'll ever wear. We're guys. We want comfort and an easy shopping experience when it comes to what we wear. Mack Weldon takes care of both. Now, I personally have gone out and gotten some Mack Weldon clothing, and since I like to be comfortable with the clothing I wear, I thought I'd pick up a shirt, some lounge pants, a nice hoodie. Not only was it comfortable, but honestly, the best way for me to explain it to you would be an experience. This is premium quality fabric that I've never really felt before. These are clothes that I'd be happy to wear out, but also love to come home and slip on when I get home from work. They've also got a line of silver underwear and shirts that naturally help eliminate odor. I'm not talking about color. This is silver infused. And because you're listening to this podcast, Mack Weldon has a great offer for you to take advantage of. Get 20% off your first order. Just visit MackWeldon.com and enter promo code OVERTIME. Again, 20% off your first order. Just enter promo code OVERTIME when you visit MackWeldon.com. And since they want you to be comfortable, if you don't like your first pair of underwear, you get to keep it and they'll still refund you, no questions asked. MackWeldon.com. Use promo code OVERTIME for 20% off your first order.
Welcome back to the Lakers Central Podcast. I'm your host, Alex. And before the break, I said I was going to get into some of the finances. And so let's just jump right into it. So this is why things get complicated. Regardless if you think Kuzma is better than Bogdanovich or vice versa, this year Kuzma's making $1.974 million. Next year he makes 3.5, but next year doesn't quite matter. It's about this year. This year Kuzma's making 1.9 million, and Bogdan is making 8.5. Those salaries don't match up. So you can't have a straight up swap for these two guys. And that makes things extremely interesting. As I'm looking at this, another tidbit, but both were drafted in the first round, number 27 overall. Kuzma in 2017 and Bogdanovich in 2014. So interesting. But anyway, the salaries don't match up. So I went and played around with ESPN's trade machine, and the first thing I came up with was, okay, if the Lakers are going to make a trade, and let's say they assume that Bogdan is enough, or maybe the Kings throw on a draft pick, who knows, but just in terms of the cash, the Lakers could make this trade work with Quinn Cook's $3 million salary and Kyle Kuzma's $1.9 million. They could then make that trade for Bogdanovich and his 8.5. And at least according to John Hollinger's analysis, the Lakers would actually improve by 3 wins if they brought on Bogdan and shipped out Cook and Kuzma. So there's that, right? I mean, but when I did this trade, I started thinking, okay, if they bring in Bogdan, what power forward do we have to replace Kuz? I mean, we've got a good center rotation with JaVale and with JaVale and Dwight, and then AD playing center. But if Kuzma's off the team, I'm assuming Jared Dudley becomes our backup power forward, and Dud can play in short spurts, obviously in blowout time or whatever. But like, Dudley can't be your primary backup power forward. So the Lakers would need to figure out how they make that work if they end up trading Kuzma and not getting back a power forward in the trade. And then I started playing around with some other numbers. And so look, on Monday's podcast, we talked about making this bench stronger. And if the Lakers ship out Kuz, well, he's their best bench player. I mean, you can easily argue Dwight, and I wouldn't argue against you. But from a scoring perspective, Kuz is supposed to be our guy off the bench. But if the Lakers really wanted to bring back a power forward, the Kings could trade Bogdanovich and Bjelica. And Bjelica earns $6.8 million this season. So the Lakers would need to send out even more. So on top of Kuzma and Cook, they would need to throw in Troy Daniels, who makes $1.6 million, and Avery Bradley, who makes $4.7 million. Now, a lot of people do not want to give up Avery Bradley. He's played great defense for the Lakers this year. But at least according to Hollinger, if they make this trade, the Lakers would be plus 5 wins. So, look, let's just start with if the Lakers, and Kings can work out a deal for Bogdanovich, Kyle Kuzma, and Quinn Cook. The Lakers bring in Bogdan. I would imagine they still try to bring in Darren Collison. I would. And Bogdan and Darren Collison, they would instantly upgrade this bench. I mean, I put a trade out, I put out a poll about 3 hours before I'm recording this, and the poll is still live. Check it out on Twitter. Hit me up at LakersCentral365 to find the poll. But I simply asked, is adding Darren Collison and Bogdan Bogdanovich an instant upgrade for the Lakers? Thus far, with 20 hours left to go on this poll, I have 497 votes, and 93.2% of all those votes say yes. So, obviously, if the Lakers can make a trade for Bogdanovich and then still bring in Collison, that upgrades their bench. Either one of those guys could probably start, even though I don't think Collison would this late in the season, but either one of those guys can start. But then the question is, where would the Lakers get a power forward? And they'd have to figure that out. They'd have to find someone that can play backup power forward for their team. But if that deal can't be had, and maybe the Kings would be inclined to add in Bjelica, who is a competent power forward that can shoot the three. I think he shoots 38% from three, so that's a quality number. So if the Lakers were to ship out Troy Daniels, Kyle Kuzma, Quinn Cook, and Avery Bradley and get back Bogdan and Bjelica and add Darren Collison, I mean, that's a competent bench. You still have Dwight Howard out there. You're still going to stagger minutes with LeBron and Anthony Davis. So that's a competent team. And I'd have to say I'd be okay with it. Now, what I find interesting right now is kind of like this back and forth. Number one, if there are reporters out there talking about Kyle Kuzma, saying their sources are telling them XYZ, those sources are not coming from the Lakers side. They're not. The Lakers have been leak-proof since Magic Johnson stepped down. So anything you're hearing about the Lakers and about Kyle Kuzma is coming from agents and teams, other teams. It's not coming from the Lakers. But when Sam Amick originally reported it a day or so ago that teams were starting to call the Lakers, and then today, Monday is when I'm recording this podcast for to put out on Tuesday, but today on Monday, when Mark Stein said, "Hey, the Kings have called the Lakers. They're interested." Of course, the internet went nuts, and then Sam Amick again, he chimed back in, and he said he's told that the Kings are unlikely to be interested in a straight-up swap. They value his versatility and are comfortable with his restricted free agency, and they're 0-6 without him. And without him, we're talking about Bogdanovich. So that's what Sam Amick is now reporting. Now, look, to be clear, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, and Sam goes on to say this as well, conceptually, Kuz and filler salary is of no interest to the Kings. So that's what Sam Amick is saying. Kuz and filler isn't of no interest. All right, maybe not, right? Who really knows? But then there are other reports starting to surface right now. Now Sean Devaney of TheHeavy.com and Forbes Sports is reporting that league sources are telling him that the Lakers pulling the trigger on moving Kyle Kuzma is way off. One general manager said that the Lakers would ask for a high rotation player, preferably a point guard who could bolster of LeBron and Anthony Davis' chance to get to the finals, as well as a first-round draft pick around the lottery position. And look, to be fair, the Lakers should start the bidding for Kyle Kuzma high. That's what you do in any negotiation, whether you're selling a used car or whatever you're doing. You start the bidding as high as possible, and then you go from there. So if the Lakers start the bidding high and they can get a rotation guy and a lottery pick, well, and some teams willing to do that, then you do it. But if they start there, maybe a team comes in and says, "Hey, we'll give you, we'll give you the rotation player that you want, but we'll give you a late round first, or a future first, or a couple seconds, or whatever." Then maybe that's where you fall. But you always start high. Kuzma is a really, really good player, and I think that at this point, part of it is he's trying to find his legs and get his rhythm, and another part is the Lakers are fighting to make the playoffs and go on a championship run. This is a different team, and expectations are different. And maybe he's the guy. Maybe they keep him, and maybe every single month he gets better, and by the time they get to the postseason, he's cooking. But I tell you what, you have to at least listen. If you can get Bogdanovich and get some other assets out of it to help round out your bench, you have to at least listen. The Kings have done some weird things in the past. They traded DeMarcus Cousins. They gave Buddy Hield that huge extension. Vlade hires and fires coaches on the whim. They wanted Luke Walton without interviewing anybody else after the Lakers and Luke parted ways. And so they do some strange things. They didn't take Luka Doncic. So there's a number of things that they do. And I think if you're Rob Pelinka, you're an agent. Your job is to be a master negotiator. And now you're the GM of the most famous franchise in basketball. You try to extract whatever you can. And so I do not think that Rob is out there calling teams saying, "Hey, Kuz is available." what I think is happening is, and this is being reported, I agree with this part, that teams are calling. Kuz is struggling a bit. Teams probably think that they can poach him for maybe less than if he was averaging 18 or 20 points a game. He's been in the social media, with his trainer dissing LeBron and all that kind of stuff. So teams might think that he's ripe for the picking, and maybe he is. Maybe the Lakers are ready to move on. But they have to get back some pieces that are ultimately going to help this bench, and that's kind of where we're at right now. We don't have any more information. But I tweet this and I talk about it on the podcast, but the brand power, the recognition power of the Lakers. I'm looking at Twitter right now, and Bogdan has been trending number 1 for like 4 hours. Bogey is trending in the top 10. Like, that's all Lakers related. That's crazy that a dude that plays for the Kings that has been mentioned in rumors, in a trade for Kyle Kuzma, is trending number 1. That's absolutely amazing, and that's a credit to the Lakers brand recognition. And I'm just going to go on and say it, man. If the Lakers can get Bogdanovich and maybe get a draft pick also, or get Bjelica, they need to do it. You need to do it. Because if a few things break right, and sometimes they just happen to break right for the Lakers, maybe the last few years they haven't, but historically things have broke right for the Lakers. And can you imagine the Lakers go ahead and trade Kyle Kuzma and maybe some of their other bench players, and they get Bogdanovich and Bjelica, right? 2 shooters. Bogdanovich doesn't look like he's afraid at all at the moment. Dude is a shooter, and there's one thing that I know. Dudes that are shooters, they can play in the NBA for 10, 15 seasons. And his qualifying offer is a little over $10 million. He's a $10 million player. He's absolutely a $10 million player. But anyway, if the Lakers can get Bogdanovich, let's just say Bogdanovich, right? If they get him via trade and they get Collison to come out of retirement, that's a hell of an upgrade. But by some stretch of the imagination, Andre Iguodala gets bought out in Memphis, and the Lakers add him also. Like, these are the things that used to happen for the Lakers when Dr. Jerry Buss was alive and owned the team. Things used to break right. And this team would get a player that no one thought they could get. And this team would go on a run, or they would beat a team that people saw them struggle with during the regular season. These are the things that used to happen. So I'm going to go on record and say it. If they can get Bogdanovich and something else, do it. Make the trade, because he's a flat-out scorer. I love what I saw when I watched some of the tape on him. Like I said, it wasn't a lot, but also I heard from people that I trust that he's a solid player. And at 6'6", he's got a 6'11" wingspan. No, he's not a great defender, but he can clearly shoot up above most 2 guards in the NBA. I like what I could get out of that guy. So I'm gonna close the podcast on that. It's getting hot, folks. Trade season's heating up. Rumors are heating up, and the Lakers are going to be mentioned in them because that's just kind of what happens. So thanks for listening to the podcast. Shout out to all my new followers across social media. Shout out to everybody that has subscribed to the YouTube channel. Really appreciate that. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Follow me on social media, and tell everybody about this Lakers podcast. Until next time, folks, I'm out.